Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Ehrenreich. I oversee the communications curriculum at Questrom, and in particular have worked with our students who are here today, Martina, Wang, and also Dunfee, in the Leadership Communications course as part of the full-time MBA program.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Martina. So I'm first year MBA student. I'm now studying management science MBA. So my passion about my career is all related to marketing, communication, and also definitely for business analytics now. So I'm really glad to be present here today.
Hey folks, my name is Dunfee. I'm a second year social impact MBA student here at Boston University Questrom, and I'm very focused on having an impact on climate and the environment. So I've been focusing on entrepreneurship and innovation to that end.
Our leadership communications course takes a holistic view of communications. It can mean many things to many people, and we take the broad view that it's all about influence and persuasion. It's all about convincing somebody to do something. And how we go about that is leveraging Aristotle's timeless principles of ethos, logos, and pathos. Ethos is credibility, and we work on skills like being present, being a good listener, building relationships, thinking on your feet. We work hard on the logos aspect, which is the argument, the evidence, the data that you bring to bear, and how you shape it into a compelling narrative that will bring people to your point of view. And then for pathos, we work on all the things that you can do to sway your audience emotionally. That includes storytelling, things like body language, both in person and virtually.
I would say leadership communication class is really helpful for my academic life and also for my internship searching. So for academic point of view, we learned a lot regarding how to design our slides in a professional way, and also how to present our final result in an also professional manner. Professor has been taught us a lot of details how we should design the PowerPoint like a professional consultant. And I believe for our MBA programs, there's actually a lot of students who want to be a professional consultant in the future. And professor actually bring a lot of insights from previous McKinsey masters and help us design the really great structure of the concise interpretation of how you showing the PowerPoint, showing the content to the audience. So I still remember at the time, professor teaching us in different concepts and with different fun activities. So she not only just teaching with the book or the PowerPoint, but also let it engage with her designed activities that is really fun for all of us. We just want to participate a lot during the class. We just want to volunteer during the class. And also for the public speaking part, this is also really crucial for everyone else. So we had a Questrom talk session, and everyone believed this is one of the most interesting, challenging, and also amazing session everyone had. So we learned how to tell the story, just like what those, famous movie stars or all this professional speakers taught speaking during the TED Talk. So we feel like we are the star in the century of the light, but how we really convert our story to the audience. There are so many skills that professor have been told us. And this is not only useful for academic life, but also for internship searching. I still remember at the time, there are several companies require us to present 15 minutes slides with how you analyze the problems, how you solve what's going to the interviewer. So by learning this from leadership communication class, it's really helped us to structure our deliverable to be more professional. And also, as an international students, actually what we learned before, even though I learned in an English-based professional before, but it's completely different from the US system. So here, by learning from the professor, we know what is actually the real standard for the United States. So for job searching, for future work, this is also crucial. And we also learned the memo writing, and this is something really helpful for our academic life. Last week, I just submitted one personal assignment, which takes 30% of my final credit, and the professor exactly asking for a memo format writing. So I know a lot of people say ChatGPT can help you a lot with writings, with your context, but without clearly know the structure, how to conduct the professional writing with the memo structure, you will just get lost of the nowhere. So I would say this class is really, really helpful, and we had a lot of fun there during the semester. And I really thank you, Professor, for teaching all of us.
Oh, Martina, it really was a fun class. I do believe, life is short. Let's have fun along the way. So I really hope the students have fun. So that's great to hear, Martina.
So I think part of what a lot of us are doing as we're going through this MBA program is kind of maybe transitioning from a moment in our kind of lives and careers where we've, made our contributions in our careers through, individual contributions and analysis. And now we're kind of in this process of transitioning to take on roles of leadership. And I think part of what is not often recognized that is a part of that journey is learning how to, not just excel at your individual function, but pull others, draw others behind the vision you have for the work that you're doing and that the organization you're in, how it should operate and accomplish the mission. And I think maybe people can feel more comfortable doing that in a written context. We got some expert training on how to do that in a more prescribed fashion. But I think a big part of this class was also really understanding what it feels like to be in a position of leadership and to act in that capacity, to command a room, to use not just your intellect and your analysis, but your language, your body language, your tone of voice, your command of a room to actually, inspire others and bring other people behind your vision for the work that you're doing. So I think that is something that, forces people to get out of that constraint maybe they have of being shy or bashful or kind of unwilling to command that space. But it's such a critical component of assuming roles of leadership, whether you're a mid-level manager or eventually working your way to, a CEO or an executive director, is actually physically being able to hold that space, relate to people, listen to people, speak in their own language and make people feel heard and understood, and then actually speak back to them in a way that drives your own vision for the world forward. So I found this to be a really great exercise in both understanding the mechanics of doing so and actually practicing it in an embodied sense, doing the Questrom Talk competition, delivering the kind of executive presentation, and actually learning the nuances of what it feels like to be on that stage, delivering that message and trying to pull other people behind your vision.
So I would say for me, the most valuable things I learned from this class is your audience would always be not stay focused for all the time. So how you gonna let your audience listen to you carefully for all the important information you try to deliver to them is crucial. But you can actually design your either PowerPoint, your speech, your bullet points in a sense of let them always stay focused. So Professor mentioned that you cannot never exceed 7 points when it comes to an idea expression. So you have to concise your whole concepts, your main ideas within, the best would be 3 to 5 points. It can be showing either in your writings or in your slides, or when you deliver your Questrom talk, you can only make it to 3 different small sections, like the different stories, but connect to the main point. So I would say this inspired me a lot whenever now I'm writing for paper, whenever I'm now trying to do my presentation. So I would say this helped me a lot in this sense.
Such an important lesson, Martina. I'm so glad to hear you say that. It's everything. Synthesizing your message into key points and not too many of them is key to getting your audience to understand and engage with you.
I would say for me, what felt uniquely really valuable was understanding the mechanics of body language and pacing when you're speaking publicly, and how, we might all have a tendency to speak really quickly and try to get a lot of information across, but the value of really, understanding negative space and silence and pauses and, rapid movements that then slow down to kind of physical pauses in the speech that you're making really helped me kind of understand, how is like the whole message physically and tonally that I'm trying to transmit coming across, and what are the kind of mechanics of body position that allow you to either feel, more open and more, conversational with your audience, or that kind of allow you to accentuate your relative position of power and try to really accentuate your point in a more commanding fashion. I think that was really a fascinating set of learnings that made me think a lot more about, what's my presence in a space relative to the goals that I'm trying to accomplish in this communication.
Also, if I could add, Ryan, such an important point. We work on how you structure and synthesize your information into a compelling narrative. Business concepts are very complicated, and you need to use a lot of tricks to organize them in a way that people can understand and follow. But as Ryan pointed out, then when it comes to delivering, you've got that great narrative. Now, what are all the things that you can do through your body language and other techniques to really drive your message home, and, to use Ryan's phrase, to command the room? So that is really great to hear as well.
Yes, just as what I mentioned, having already applied to my paper writings, I already applied to my interview, and I definitely believe in the future for my career development is going to help me a lot to look like a real professional. So if I got a consulting internship in the future, or maybe a job, it's going to also be applied way more deeply than what we learn right now, because as professor told us, it's actually the way of how the real consultants present to their clients about the ideas, about the concepts, about their solutions. So I would say definitely for now and for future, it's all practical and useful.
I would say for me, I think two moments that stand out were competing in the Boston University Build Lab startup competition last spring, in which we were lucky enough to get to the medal round of that competition, had to deliver a 10-minute kind of pitch and go through a 15-minute Q&A, and definitely was leaning a lot on the lessons of the class to command that room and try to really sell those panelists on the idea we had for this residential electrification startup. And we were lucky enough to get third in that competition. And then this past summer at my internship for a climate-focused startup, the founder was actually away on a trip, and there was a pitch competition at the accelerator we were at, and I actually stood in for him and pitched the idea for the company and thought a lot about how we're going to present this, and actually used my phone, because we were centering our very complicated technology around a simple concept of can we deliver home renovation plans for climate-friendly renovations through your phone, and tried to really use the mechanic of holding up the phone to demonstrate the simplicity of this value proposition. And I could kind of see everyone's eyes be drawn up to that, that device, and kind of the message I think really clicked when they were like, oh, I can see this device. It communicates so much information to me about how simple this value proposition is, and I could tell that people really understood what we were trying to do in a way that they would not have if I had not kind of incorporated the lessons of this class.
Okay, so I still remember at the time, Professor mentioned about we're gonna hold a Questrom talk competition within all the cohort, and actually it's about the public speaking session. I talked to Professor and asked her about, I have so many ideas about this, about that, so many interesting stories I can talk about, so many crazy ideas I can deliver. But she mentioned one thing to me, and I still remember, which is you should always talk about your personal story. So in this way, people can really resonate with your emotions, and people can really feel that you're telling the true story. And this is important always as when you deliver the public speaking. So that makes me think a lot. And then back home, I start to recall all my life stories. And then I figured out actually there's something I have been touching with about my personal life. And this Questrom talk is not only just help me with my public speaking skills, but also for myself through review of my life experiences. So when I deliver my Questrom talk to all the classmates, I feel like I'm just sincerely telling them how I feel from the stories, from the experiences I have experienced. And I can tell everyone was really focused on my story, and they're really connect to how I feel. So it makes me realize, like, even in the future, when you deliver your solution to the clients, maybe this is not gonna be the story base, but if you really care for your client's company, if you really want to show that you care a lot for their performance, in a way of deliver your speech, there are so many things you can focus on. Your tone, your gestures, the way how you conduct your speech would always help you connect with your audience. And this is one of the most important things make you success.
So I did my Questrom talk, which was a really enjoyable experience personally, on this idea that movement is medicine. And this was a theme that was came up for me in the context of thinking about two big personal experiences of my life. A spinal cord injury I suffered in college in a ski crash, and 10 years later, a divorce I was going through with my now ex-wife, and what was the kind of through line of moving through and past and reconciling through those two different traumas, and discovered that kind of, the role that moving as like a physical being, doing these outdoor adventure sports, being in rehab, these kind of really critical moments where movement was the context and really helped me through a really difficult situation. And I think, these are two experiences I'd always been thinking about, but being kind of challenged to encapsulate my experience of those two things in a matter of a couple of minutes, and then try to use those experiences to convince the audience of something, in this case, that some kind of practice of movement is really beneficial for everyone's life, and finding a relationship to yourself as a physical being that needs to move and play and kind of act physically in the world was a really interesting challenge. And I think made me think very carefully, more than I had been challenged to before, about what were the words I was using, what parts of those experiences did I really pull out to demonstrate, speak to the entire experience that I was going through, and what was the utility in sharing that, and the message and the challenge to my classmates. And so a lot was spent on narrowing down and being very specific about the language, and again was spent a lot of time thinking about how I was going to move through that stage, how I was going to make sure that audience knew that the finale, that closing argument was coming, and that they were really listening for it and primed for it, just using both my body language and the tone of what I was saying. And I think it was a really fun experience to try to pull all those things together and think second by second, how am I moving through this narrative and really bringing people along this journey that I want them to join me on. And so had a lot of fun doing it. It was, required bringing together a lot of different learnings about communication that I developed in the class, and was really, honored to be able to give that speech in front of everyone.
So many people want to be inspirational, and the truth is, a set of 14 bullet points around something to do is not inspiring to people. What does inspire people is a personal story, a message that connects to your audience, that makes you relatable, that makes your message memorable. People remember stories. And so we introduced the Questrom Talk as a form of an oral argument where students get a chance to be really inspiring. And part of that is telling a story that had impact on their lives that others can relate to. And it really works. It's a wonderful thing. In addition to learning some skills, it really builds community in the class and in the program. We have such amazing students from all over the world, so many different backgrounds and expertise in the class. And these talks give us a chance to know each other, to know all the students, and really appreciate them and all that they bring. So it has been a wonderful part of the program. There's so much in the news about the importance of softer skills going forward, that while it's wonderful to have strong technical skills and analytic skills, there's a saying, your technical skills may get you the job, but it's your softer skills like communications that will get you promoted, that will assist in your career advancement. And we hear over and over again from our working students that these skills really do accelerate their careers. I love nothing more than when I hear from students that, I tried all these things and they're working, and my boss noticed, and guess what? I got that promotion at last. So that is our hope for each and every student, that we give them the skills they need to really shine in their careers and advance quickly.